Welcome to Technovation. I'm your host, Peter High. My guest today is Greg Brown. Greg's the Chief Customer Service Officer at Healthcare Service Corporation. The company was founded in 1936 and includes 17 million members. HCSC is the largest customer-owned healthcare organization in the US, so Greg's role as the head of customer service officer is particularly important given the structure. He has roughly 12,000 employees on his team, and I look forward to hearing more about the role technology plays to enhance customer service in a setting like HCSC. I also look forward to hearing more generally about what constitutes great customer service in this day and age. Greg, welcome to Technovation. Great to speak with you today.
Thanks for having me, Peter.
I've been looking forward to this conversation. Thank you. Well, Greg, I mentioned, of course, that you are the head of customer service, the chief customer service officer at Healthcare Service Corporation. Provide a bit more context into the business you're in, if you would.
Sure. Great question. So yeah, there's a lot there. So we were actually founded in 1936 and have grown to be a little over 17 million members today. And we employ over 26,000 employees across 60 different offices in those 5 states. And so the company itself offers plans for employers, individuals and families, as well as Medicare and Medicaid plans. We also have some of our subsidiaries that offer products such as life and dental, health, and pharmacy solutions. So it's a little bit of an overview of HCSC.
Very, very interesting. And how do the different organizations work together, whether it's to network for ideas or share ideas or other ways in which they might collaborate?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. So the association itself has several different, I'll call them work groups that come together. It starts with a board of directors. And of course, we have representatives on that. But really where it begins to spread is subcommittees of the board and then work groups associated with that. And so we have well over 380 individuals that are a part of those work groups that we collaborate on a lot of different ideas, ranging from product innovation to service innovation, all the way through some of the legislative aspects of it and partnering across the board there. But it's through the association that bring us all together that we begin to collaborate and partner.
And your role, Greg, is as Chief Customer Service Officer. Talk a bit about your purview in that role, if you would.
Yeah, I'll start with the what it entails. We have 3 lines of business that we operate. One is our group line of business, so the employer group. We have our individual and family markets, which is the Affordable Care Act, or ACA. And then we have Medicare and Medicaid, so the government line of business. So those are the 3 main areas. What I'm accountable for in this role is we look at everything from enrollment to billing to membership to member services, provider services, and claims, all the way really across the gamut of all 3 lines of that. So we employ well over 12,000 employees within my organization, and we service 1.2 million claims a day, which is phenomenal when you think about it from that scale. Handle over 50,000 member calls a day, over 25,000 provider calls a day, and ensuring that we're doing our part to deliver the experience that we're looking to out in the marketplace.
And how do you think about? You mentioned the numerous constituent groups with which you interact and serve. How do you think about customer service related to each of those groups?
Yeah, it's a great question, Peter. And for me, it starts with our purpose. We're very much a purpose-driven organization. As I mentioned, our customers own us. And so we have a little bit more freedom than our competitors out there. And it all starts with our purpose. And when we think about our customer service that we're providing, our purpose is all about our members. And we refer to our as members as customers. But it is all around the purpose, which is we do everything in our power to stand with our members in sickness and in health. So it starts at the highest level. And from there, it really gets into what values do we want to instill within our employees so that we're delivering the experience that we're looking for, across the various stakeholders. And we have several stakeholders, 3, the ones we primarily focus in on. One, of course, is our member, the North Star that we provide. Second is the employer, who is making a lot of the buy-in decisions in the group line of business. And then, of course, the provider. So the providers that we're servicing across the board there. And so we focus in on the values: integrity, respect, commitment, caring, and excellence. And that's what really means for us. But I think the most important thing, and this probably distinguishes us from others as well, is the focus in on our employee, because you cannot have an engaged member, provider, or employer if you don't have an engaged employee first. And so that's how we think about it, is that we really focus in on the employee. We build the skills, the competencies in order to for them to provide that experience that they're looking to differentiate ourselves in the marketplace.
Reminiscent of Starbucks philosophy of great employees make for happy customers.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, very, and I wonder, later this summer you'll celebrate 8 years with the company. I wonder what constitutes great customer service today, perhaps different from when you joined the organization. What are some of the new ways in which you interact with customers, reflective of changing times in the business landscape?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think our journey that we've been on over the course of the last call it 8 years since I've been here, is how do we become more proactive, predictive, and personalized in the experience that we're delivering to our key stakeholders. And that has been where our focus has been on the investments that we've been making, on obviously the transformations that we're going through and so forth, is all around how do we become more predictive, proactive, and personalized. And so that's what constitutes the best customer experience, because we become more proactive in nature to be able to anticipate what their needs are, so that they're not having to even call in with certain issues along those lines. So we really focus in on creating that customer-centric culture, and really focus on connected, contextual, and effortless experiences as they interact with us.
Can you talk a bit about the role technology plays in that? Like, and as you're describing it, there certainly sounds like there would be some consequential data elements to that, or perhaps other technology elements that would bring that to life, in addition to, of course, the human touch points that are naturally there as well.
Yeah, I take that from two approaches. One of which is, the overall experience for our employees, and the technology that we have on that front, so that they are getting the coaching and the skill building that they need in order to provide that experience. So we deploy an artificial intelligence tool where 100% of our calls are recorded and then transcribed. And then mined in a way that then is able to provide the coaching to certain behaviors that we were able to pick up on during that call, that would result in a better experience for those key stakeholders. And so this is the one thing that's so great about this technology, and this is kind of the human plus the technology component, which we all talk a lot about. But the technology is able to listen to every one of those calls, transcribe it, and then that insight is then provided to our leaders, who then provide that coaching back to our frontline. We call them customer advocates, and that experience that our employees are having then enables them to build the skills and competencies, and continue to improve and deliver that differentiated experience. But so that's from the view of our employee, which is really exciting. When you think about it from our customer aspect of it, this is about identifying who that member is when they're coming into our contact center, understanding what they've been doing. So we call it a 360-degree view of the member, in a way that then we're able to route to the appropriately skilled individual to provide that experience that we're looking to deliver. So it starts with obviously another artificial intelligence tool, natural language processing, and being able to understand the intent of why the member is calling in. And then, of course, the technology to be able to route accordingly. And so I think those are some of the technology advancements that we've made on that front, both from a internal as well as external perspective, that help us achieve the goal of providing that great customer experience.
And can you describe the team that you lead? You talk a bit about the way in which it is structured to interact with the various constituents you noted.
Yeah, it's a great point. So I mentioned the three lines of business, and so we align with the lines of business because there is a little bit uniqueness associated with what their needs are. And so I have an individual that runs all of our member services for our group line of business, another individual that runs our individual and family markets, as well as our government lines of business. So that's the vertical alignment, which is critically important to ensure that we're hearing feedback on what's most important and making sure that we're delivering that experience across the board there. But we also have large verticals that we focus in on. So, for example, our claims organization, and we refer to it as payment services. That is a vertical, and I also have an individual that runs that. We also have provider services that I have an individual that reports up through me, runs that. And then, as you would imagine, with such a large, organization of 12,000, employees and 17 million members and so forth, having the right people in the right place at the right time in order to deliver that experience that we're looking for, critically important. So we have a center of excellence that does a lot of the shared services across all those three lines of business, plus the verticals. And that's so we're getting into workforce management. It gets into training, quality development, automation, all the various artificial intelligence aspects that we have been talking about.
Yeah, very interesting. And I wanted to ask you also, as there are a number of ways in which you've talked about the human plus technology kind of working together in symbiosis, as you note, a theme that certainly one finds in a variety of different industries these days. How do you partner with technology leads across your organization in order to bring that to life? Needless to say, having them all pointed in the right direction towards where the greatest value might be achieved, as you point out, for employees, perhaps first and foremost, but then also towards customers eventually, needless to say, is critically important. And the insights you would provide, no doubt, are critical in order to ensure that they are, in fact, pointed in the right direction. Can you talk a bit about that collaboration?
Yeah, so we work very closely. We have several different IT partners that we work with. So, number one, kind of a chief technology officer who really looks at all of the infrastructure necessary in order for us to deliver across the board. We have our chief digital officer, which all these are peers of mine. And I work very closely with the chief digital officer because it was all around the omni-channel experience. And you think about that seamless experience that we're looking to deliver across the board there. And plus, we also know that a good majority of our members like to start in the digital channel, even though they might not finish in that channel, coming in on that front. So a lot of collaboration and understanding, what's most important to our stakeholders, and then prioritizing that from a digital perspective, so we can deliver that digital first experience. We also, work very closely with our lines of business. So, the business leaders that we partner with, who certainly have, I would say, an understanding of where the market is heading, what changes need to occur, and how that is going to impact not just the technology, but the process aspects of it, and where we need to invest from a platform perspective in order for us to deliver the experience that we're looking for. So, very close collaboration with all of the IT partners and our line of business leaders.
Makes sense. Thank you for that overview, Greg. I wanted to ask you, we've talked about a number of important trends, certainly, that you and the organization are leveraging, but I wanted to see if there are any others that you might call out as you look to the future that are of particular interest to you. What comes to mind?
Yeah, I'd say a couple of things. We were talking about artificial intelligence and the proactive, personalized, and connected experiences that we're looking to drive across the board. And I think that's one of the I would say exciting trends that I'm seeing, is that we're going to continue down that path. And there are a lot of different, ways that is going to manifest itself in our ability to deliver a better customer experience. And a lot of it is around the artificial intelligence we've been talking about. And so when we talk about transforming the way that we interact with our members, our employers, and our providers, I think the artificial intelligence technology is going to enable us to really progress that in a way that we haven't had the ability to in the past. And when I think about that, we're trying to improve, the health outcomes, right? We're trying to increase quality, access to quality care, for our members. And of course, surely enhancing the member and employer and provider experience, that I've been talking about from that perspective. And there are a couple things that come to mind. We're using these three artificial intelligence areas today, but we're looking to enhance them. First is around natural language processing, and that is a key aspect of really being able to interact with the member in a way that helps us understand how best to service them. The other component is the robotic process automation, and we're doing a lot of this work in our back office, where we are automating a lot of the claims that are coming through in a way that, and using machine learning, which is the third component of that, in a way that ensures that we're processing that with the quality that we need to across the board. So I think I get most excited about the artificial intelligence and the natural language processing, the robotic process automation, and the machine learning. And I think the other area that I would say we're in the exploratory stages of right now is the generative AI. And I mean, everyone's talking about Chat GPT, right? And all the various components there. So I think there's going to be a lot of promise in that, but I would say we're at the beginning stages, just as everyone is, for us to really be able to get our arms around that and begin to think about what's the best use case, for us to begin to explore it.
Yeah, very interesting. It certainly is coming up a lot in conversation these days for very good reason.
Right.
I wanted to also ask you, Greg, as somebody who's achieved a consequential role in a consequential company, what have been some of the difference makers for you along the way that have helped you achieve the heights you have professionally?
Yeah, it's a good question. There have been so many things as we think about that, throughout my career, and I think at each stage in my career, certain things benefited me. But if I were to try to look at a common thread across the board there, first and foremost, I would just say it's all around your attitude and how you approach your life, your work, your everything that you do. And the one thing that I've learned throughout my career is that we can't control things that happen to us, but we can control how we respond to those things that are happening around us. And in my opinion, I think it comes down to that positive mindset and really having that positive outlook on life and assuming positive intent along the way. So that attitude critically important. The other piece I would say, and if you were to go into Greg, what are your daily habits and what's your morning look like from the time you get up till the time you go to bed? I would say it's all around the positive habits that I have each and every day. I love the book. James Clear came out with it, Atomic Habits, and I ended up picking up and reading, and there's a lot of nuggets in there that you can pick up on, but. And the reality of it is when you transform your habits, you can transform your life. And I think that is, true, from a positive standpoint, but unfortunately, you also see examples out there in life where it can go towards the negative. But so focusing on the positive habits and creating that routine in your life, I think really helps you out and leaders out in that way. And the last thing I would say is just continuous improvement. It's all about getting better, every day, right? I think it was even James Clear talked about, 1% better every day, and what the magnitude of improvement that can make over a period of time. So, attitude, positive habits, and continuous improvement, I think would be the common themes that I would point to throughout my career that have helped me be successful.
May I also ask you, Greg, to what extent has that impacted the way in which you thought about recruiting as well? It's certainly what you've described would be a nice recipe for developing a great culture as well, and the extent to which you are kind of living that and perhaps might find a lot of use in the intersection between yourself and others who might be comparably oriented. Is it something you bear in mind from that perspective?
It certainly is, and I do look for that as I'm looking for talent out in out in the marketplace and so forth. It's interesting, and as you just said that, it made me think of what I specifically look at, and it's an acronym, but humility is the first one, and I think it's so important for all of us to be humble. The reality of it is that we no one knows everything, and we got to bring in the right team with the right talent, the right skill sets to complement you, and be humble about that. The other one is emotional intelligence, and the four components of the emotional intelligence aspects of it. Accountability, those that are not afraid to lean in where they see gaps, and then being able to fill those in order for us to really not just hold ourselves accountable, but our teams accountable for that. And then the lastly is learning agility, and that critically important as well. Here's the reality of it. I mean, what worked 5 years ago, and in our case even 3 years ago, is not going to work now. So being able to learn on the fly and to adjust accordingly based on where we're heading. Critically important. But I hadn't thought about the HEAL acronym until you just said that, as far as looking for talent. But certainly attitude, continuous improvement, and the positive habits I look for as well.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, Greg Brown, thank you so much for spending a little time with me today, sharing a bit about your experience and what's to come within an organization as large and meaningful and complex as HCSC. It's been great to learn more about customer service, how it's evolved across your 8 years, as well as to understand a little bit more about what's been meaningful for you as your rise has continued. Thank you for a great conversation.
Thank you, Peter.